right, so welcome back, everyone. We now begin our special session entitled Global Research Agenda in Hospitality and Tourism. For your information, this session will be held in a hybrid format, connecting both in person and via Zoom. It'll also be live streamed on YouTube. So before we starting our today's session, please welcome our moderator, Professor Cheol-won Kim from Kyunghee University.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Cheol-won Kim from Kyunghee University. Actually, I'm a retired person. Due to Guso invitation, I am here. I'm so happy to be here. Also, it's my honor to rate this great session with wonderful prominent scholars. Today's topic will be a global research agenda in tourism and hospitality domain. Actually, Professor Gu asked me to attend this conference without any role, but he gave me two roles actually. First of all, today is a moderator role, but I have no format for this session. But everybody, I welcome your opinion. I want you to share your ideas on global research agenda in tourism and hospitality. We're gonna have four, prominent distinguished scholar as a panelist here. Professor Kathy Xu due to her personal schedule, she will not be here, but she videotape her contents of presentation. One of our panelists, Professor Yurke Gojal, so please welcome her. With your big round of applause. Okay, you can sit down there. Okay. And Jose Hong, where is that? Okay, welcome. Please give him a big hand there. Also, Professor Hyun Song is old friends. Here are many distinguished prominent scholars to write many articles. So probably you know better than me research agenda in hospitality and tourism. As you know very well, research topic may be focused on some issue. Like I'm gonna point out that 7 points as a research topic. First of all, sustainability and environmental responsibility. Actually, reducing environmental footprint such as waste and carbon. Also, developing green workforce and sustainable management practice. Also, balancing economic growth with ecological preservations. Second topic would be digital transformation and technology. Today we talk about AI issue, leveraging AI, big data, and learning machine for demand forecasting and revenue management. Also, we develop some issue like AI or metaverse potential for immersive experience and new business model. Also, we're going to focus also really inclusiveness, and accessibility and equity issue. Creating a universally accessible tourism for all ages, all abilities and background. That is going to be very important. Also, we focused on some social equity, fair distribution of benefits, something like that. Also, we may focus on entrepreneurship and something like that. It's due to advance of technology and sustainable practice, new business has been emerged. Also, we can focus on workforce and human capital. is developing skilled and is inclusive workforce for the future, very, very important issue. Maybe when I look at the journal, some issue maybe focused on post-pandemic recovery and resilience issue. There are numerous research topics as our distinguished scholars will share their ideas on global research agendas. First of all, Cassie Hu, due to her personal schedule, she will not be here, but she videotaped her contents based on, as an editor of tourism management, we're gonna watch it, first of all, her videotape.
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to participate in this special session of the conference on global research agenda in hospitality and tourism. Unfortunately, I'm traveling, thus I cannot be there with you in person, but Professor Ku has nicely asked me to briefly talk about tourism management, so that hopefully that will be helpful in the follow-up discussion after the presentation. In terms of the scope and positioning, we view tourism management, taking the two words, we take a broad view of tourism. In other words, we see everything included in the phenomenon, serving the market of tourism as relevant to the journal. That includes the accommodation, the transport, the tour, attraction, so on and so forth. So it's a very umbrella term. So we define tourism very broadly. And then management, also we define management broadly. In other words, we take an interdisciplinary approach. We've seen submissions from people based in different departments, academic units, including economics, geography, psychology, information systems, so on and so forth. All the papers published in the journal should contribute to theoretical and or methodological advancement, in addition to having specific implications for tourism management or policy. So we're looking at two things, real life impact and also theoretical and or methodological advancement. Having said that, we do highly encourage innovative topics and perspectives because we would like to see new things, especially welcoming colleagues who would challenge traditional paradigms. Therefore, we can push the knowledge boundary forward. A little bit of background or housekeeping matters. We publish 6 volumes a year. From the time of acceptance to the time of getting a DOI posted online is about 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. In other words, once your paper gets accepted, it will be published very soon. And then a volume is compiled every 2 months. In other words, if you would like to see a complete volume that includes your publication, the longest you have to wait is only about 2 months. This year, we're expecting an annual submission, 2025, of approximately 2,600. That's quite a bit of increase from last year. Because of the large number, and also because with the increasing in terms of the number of submission, unfortunately, we don't see a parallel increase in the number, in the quality of submission. So we do a 3-stage screening or desk review process. We desk reject about 77% of the submission. First, we have the managing editor who will look at the initial submission and desk reject about a third, probably 36% based on this year's statistics. And then the remaining will come to me, the editor-in-chief will reject another 29%. And then the papers will get distributed to associate editors, and they collectively desk reject another 12%. Even with such a high desk reject rate, we still send out about 600 papers a year for peer review, and that takes, if you take 600 times 3, that's 1,800 reviews. And of course, many of the papers will go through the second round review or third round review. So the annual review, number of reviews that we receive is quite significant, over 2,000. The average review time is about 8 weeks. However, some reviewers do take longer due to personal reasons or scheduling or a number of different reasons. So we try to have the review complete as quickly as possible, but sometimes it does take longer. The overall acceptance rate is about 7%. In other words, about 30% of those who send out for peer review will eventually be published. So this is the process. We go through, the author will submit the paper in the system, and then our editorial assistant will check the formality. Once it passed through the editorial assistant check, it will be assigned to the managing editor. In the coming year, we should have 2 managing editors to look at the 2,600 submissions. After they do the first round of desk review, all the papers will come to me. I will do another round of desk review, and that could go back to the desk reject cycle, or those who pass through me, then that will go to the handling editor. I do handle some papers myself, and we have associate editors do the handling as well, and they could do another round of desk reject, and then they will communicate with the reviewers and authors and eventually making a decision. We just recently did a bibliometric analysis of articles published between 1994 and the end of this year. The reason why we included articles from 1994 is because that was the year tourism management was first indexed in Web of Science. So looking at the past 32 years, in terms of the scholarship accumulated in the journal, we have close to 4,000 articles. We use a bibliometric analysis, different techniques. So when we look at keywords, these are the keywords that visualized with over different time periods, and some of the major keywords include tourism destination, customer behavior, service quality, decision-making, performance and evaluation, so on and so forth. And then when we look at the evolution of keywords over time, we divided the past 32 years into 4 periods. The first 2 periods include 10 years each, and the second 2 periods, the third and the fourth periods include 6 years each. So that we will have approximately equal number of papers within each period, and also period 4 nicely align with the COVID and post-COVID period that should help us in terms of identifying the impact of COVID and also future trends. The numbers in the circle, in the middle of the circle, of the 4 circles, indicates the number of keywords with a frequency of 3 or more. So as you can see, the number of keywords, for example, from period 1 to period 2, we see a significant increase, and that is probably due to the large number of increase in terms of papers published. Now the downward arrow indicates the new keywords introduced. For example, in period 2, 296 new keywords were introduced. However, 79 keywords were discontinued. The number on the horizontal arrow indicates the continued keywords, and then the number in the parenthesis is the stability index. So if you can see the stability index of 0.84 and 0.83 over the past 4 periods, that is actually quite high. That indicates basically a persistent research agenda over the past 3 decades. And that's actually quite concerning, because we're basically saying that we've been looking at the same topics. We've been looking at the same topics based on keywords over and over in the past 32 years. We definitely will benefit from more diversified topics and novel ideas. And we did another analysis to look at the major topic groups. The red circled topic areas indicates a steady increase over the years, especially in the past few years, past 10 years or so. That includes online review and hotel performance, service quality and customer satisfaction. And then finally, topic 10 is the crisis management and knowledge sharing. And those results do make sense. The topic areas that stabilizes over time include topic number 1, tourism demand modeling and forecasting, number 4, tourism economics and accommodation, and topic number 9, cultural heritage and responsible tourism. I know that's a lot of information on the slide, but if you're interested, you can go to the website, and we just published the results as an editorial in the current volume. So if you're interested, you can have a look at the specifics. Now, we made a few major, I think we made 5 major observations as a conclusion, as a reflection, based on the bibliometric results that we obtained. And the first major observation relates very much to the theme of the conference, and that is a study area regarding the emerging digital technologies and generative AI. Definitely AI is reshaping tourism. And we've seen some early studies, mostly on online travel information search or e-word of mouth. But gradually, we've seen the move beyond text-based to multimodal data, including images and audio, video, and some other forms of data. We've seen more paper using AI and large language models, and some other immersive technologies have been studied, AR, VR, MR, and a few studies on metaverse and blockchain. Not as many as you would have thought, but there are some. So that's one of the main observations in terms of topic areas based on the results from the past 30 or so years. So basically, in terms of topic, we've seen an increasingly centered, basically a very narrow set of topics, particularly business-oriented disciplines, for example, marketing and management information systems. And lately, particularly lately, we've seen a lot of studies looking at micro issues. I don't know if that relates to the research methods that is now very popular. For example, experimental design. With experimental design studies, basically you can manipulate one variable at a time, and therefore the research topics are very micro, right? You can only look at, for example, advertising message framing, or you look at how is the video produced. You can only manipulate or change one variable at a time, rather than looking at the big picture, tourism policy or innovation or system-wide issues. The question then is, how do we stay relevant and contribute meaningfully to the world's tourism-related challenges? That includes environmental challenge, that includes tourism planning challenges, that includes mental health, for example, issues, accessibility issues, and there are many, many big picture issues that are really challenging the tourism phenomenon. How do we stay relevant, and how do we contribute to solving some of the issues? That is the question, probably worthy of some discussion, and I would definitely encourage more submission, more studies conducted to having real life impact. Now, in terms of methods, another observation is we've seen more and more experimental design-based studies with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 studies in one paper. However, all of the data were collected online using various platforms, whether it's MTurk, whether it's Prolific, whether it's, different countries and different regions will have particular platforms. But one concerning issue is the ecological validity. Very often we see experimental design studies start by saying, imagine you're in a destination, imagine you're an employee in a hotel, imagine this, imagine that. Can they really imagine? So how do we establish the ecological validity for the study. That's another observation that we have made. So one small step forward in terms of helping scholars to really think about what does our research contribute to the real world, we ask for a 150-word impact statement when you submit your paper to tourism management. An impact statement is not an abstract. An impact statement is not how do I make an impact academically. It's what contribution or beneficial effect this particular research or paper brings to the wider society. And that could be economy, culture, policy, services, health, quality of life, the environment, so on and so forth, outside of academia. What can this piece of research do or contribute to the real world? And very often authors misunderstood and simply copy paste the abstract or talk about this study enhanced this particular theory. That's not what the impact statement is for. Finally, a couple of reminders. If authors use AI, they need to declare that. At the current time, that's all the journal required. And no simultaneous submission to more than one journal. That sounds really basic, but from time to time, we do get emails from the publisher saying that this particular paper was submitted to Journal 1 on this date, Journal 2 on that day, and Journal 3 sometimes on a different date. If that's the case, then the editor's agreement is that everybody will reject that paper. So please don't do that. If you submit simultaneously for more than one journal, then you basically remove the chance or lose the chance of being potentially published in any of the papers. For tourism management, each submission only allows one corresponding author. That is the one who submitted the paper, who corresponds with the editorial team, and also only one first author. One first author, one second author, one third author, and so on. That makes sense, right? And then each author needs to submit an authorship statement indicating the contribution. And finally, and very importantly, please do not falsify publication. You will get caught. It's very easy. Information is everything is online. Unfortunately, I do receive inquiry from potential employer or graduate school, for example, for applicants who would like to be admitted to a PhD program, would say that I have a publication in tourism management in this particular image that you see on the right-hand side actually has a volume number and has an article number. Indicating that the paper was published. But if you take a close look, actually, the margin is not right and the alignment is not justified. And then, so there are some clues that it's not an official tourism management paper. And of course, if you go online, in this case, follow the volume number, you will not find this paper. So the employer or the graduate school was cautious enough to check with me and say, could you please check the authenticity of this publication? And of course, the answer is no. We don't have this paper in the system, therefore it is not authentic. And then I will appeal to all of you to serve as a reviewer. And when you do, please do the reviewing job, take the reviewing job seriously. Just think about how helpful a constructive feedback will be to you, then please do provide, spend the time to provide constructive feedback to the authors. And also, this is especially for early career researchers. Make sure you submit your papers on the official editorial manager site, website. Again, I have received author inquiries saying that I got an acceptance letter through email, and they attached the letter with the official tourism management journal image and stationery, and saying that, has my paper really been accepted? Obviously, the answer is no. 100% of the time I receive inquiries like that, the answer is no, because the journal never communicate with the author by email. It's always through the official editorial manager system. So we will not send out acceptance letter. We will not send out acceptance letter using letterhead through email, and obviously, unless you opt for open access, you will not be asked to pay for publication. So make sure you submit your paper on the official website. Otherwise, you will be wasting your time waiting for response. So yeah, basically that's an introduction of the journal and also the bibliometric analysis that we did, looking at the publications in the past 32 years in tourism management. And I hope the message could help stimulate some discussions that follow this presentation. So thank you very much for your listening.
Please come over here as a panelist. Okay, I'm not Professor Kucholmo. Anyway, you're gonna enjoy the knowledge, you know. So, our session will deal with the global research agenda, tourism, hospitality. It's not clear what we're going to talking about, right? But so Kathy Hu mentioned is some direction and some rules to submit the journal to tourism management. It's to me it's a very impressive here. It's the first page. It's tourism studies. Actually, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary is the approach. So, tourism hospitality studies struggle with the theory development. But because it's multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary from the many fields, such as anthropology, sociology, psychology, economics, and business, but it's leading to fragmented knowledges. You have just seen our studies seen as applied pre-paradigmatic, focused on heavily on empirical data than the grand theories. You don't have grand theory. So Professor Haisong is when you look at the old textbook, is a Claire Gall, Eric Cohen, McKennell. They developed many tourism theories, but these days I cannot see any clear, specific tourism own theories. But you are interested in your major expert is economic issue, right? Is when I look at statistics about tourism management, actually most published paper related to tourism demand economics is related to what you're interested in. So, could you share us global research agenda, also based on emerging global research agenda in tourism study, and then tell me us how to develop our own theory, actually.
This is a very challenging question. Thank you, Professor Kuo, for inviting me to be on this panel. I did not ask for it, right? But anyway, thank you. And this is a very interesting discussion topic, in my view. Actually, I started in tourism research very early on. To be specific, in 1997, when I first started looking at tourism. Actually, I transferred myself from economics discipline. So when I moved to Surrey in 1997, I started to look at tourism economics research in this area. At that time, most of the tourism economics have a mainstream economic background. For example, if I see this name, probably you do not even know because they already retired or not with us anymore. For example, Brian Archer, and he's the first one actually started tourism economic research, specifically on forecasting, and also tourism multiplier, and that's very early on. And then Stephen Witt, who is forecasting, tourism forecasting academics, and then Agung Samaro, and so on and so forth. These are all mainstream economists. They're coming in tourism research, actually trying to bring the most advanced economic and economic methodology to the area. But now, after 30, 40 years, you see many of the young academics, researchers, actually they are multidisciplinary. They are not actually from a specific mainstream discipline. This is a good thing because tourism is an interdisciplinary field of study, right? But one of the drawbacks is that the young academics, because they study in tourism hospitality department schools, they do not necessarily study economics, marketing, statistics in great depths. Some universities even eliminate some of those subject areas. So I think there's is a change in terms of research focus. Professor Kathy Xu, in her slides, mentioned that tourism demand analysis and modeling and forecasting stay stable, but there's a drop recently from her diagram. And also there's another diagram called tourism economics, accommodation, hotel economics. This also remains stable for quite a long time and now start dropping. The reason for that is because not many people actually studying economics. And the graduate who graduate from economics department, they do not want to join, come to the discipline. So this is something, as a tourism academics, I'm a little bit worried, but I think probably that just me. I think the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary perhaps is the direction to go. I don't know. So I probably raise this issue instead of answer the question to how to address this issue. So from economics perspective, I see the research in terms of theoretical contribution, methodology contribution is not as strong. Most people actually borrow existing theories in the economic literature, marketing literature, and also maybe other literature, use them to look at tourism issue and problem. That's good, that's a good thing. But in terms of theoretical contribution, methodology contribution, there are theories created by tourism academics, but not many, in my view.
Okay. You know, it's because our study is multidisciplinary, as pulling for the economics, as you mentioned that. Many researchers misunderstand what consists of true, theory, confusing concept with a theory, or get stuck in an existing framework rather than innovating new theories. That's going to be a big problem. So how can we overcome those issues?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I agree that there is a lot of confusion about what a theoretical contribution is. And I also think that we encourage too much theory testing rather than theory building. And so I think because we have to publish a lot and editors also are very conservative these days, I think there's not a lot of great ideas, or grand ideas, I should say, in terms of theory coming through. I also think that, a lot of the theory, right, comes mostly from psychology and maybe a little bit from behavioral economics, but it's very limited where the theory comes from. And it is, it's not adapted at all to tourism in the sense that, yes, it's applied, but it's not challenged. And I think this is why we, what Kathy said, see so many micro issue kind of papers, because we, I don't even know how many elaboration likelihood model papers, for example, I look at on a weekly basis, or technology adoption models, right? Acceptance model. So yes, it's not just models that is theory. I think bigger perspectives or philosophical kinds of frameworks. We don't see a lot of Foucauldians, for example. I don't know if there's any in the room. So yes, I think even in terms of theory, like you say, it's very micro and very actually, yeah, theory-specific, discipline-specific theories that we're seeing.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to say anything?
Thank you. I want to say less because I'm from MUST. So, but in terms of the multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary, I think in the old days, when we read the books, we see more the terms multidisciplinaries, and now we see more interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. So I think tourism is a subject, it's ongoing, it's very trendy. So we're trying to embrace the technologies and also from different subjects, I think. So, but in terms of the theoretical implications, maybe there are many reasons become challenging to foster the theory, because we need some people to come out of the comfort zones. So when we say we write something and try to create the theories, it seems like not easy to publish. It seems like, and also it will be easier for us trying to borrow some ideas from other disciplines and then to become ours, to refine. So I think maybe this is one of the reasons. And also for tourism, because we're changing quite fast for something. So when we say we create a theory, and how can it be applied into other fields, I think is also challenging. For example, if we create some theories, is it specifically be used in only hotels, or can it be applied into other subjects like finance industry, retail industry, or service industry? I think if yes, if we can do something, it will be better. For we limited in only H&T, hospitality and tourism. But at least I see some scholars as doing something, but maybe they didn't use the terms theory. So I can see some very trendy framework, concepts, models, maybe formulas, but maybe they don't use the terms theory, I think. Thank you.
I think that a lot of people these days also ask ChatGPT about which theory to use, because I'm seeing a lot of like stimuli organism response papers, and I think ChatGPT just creates the most likely response, right? And so I think that adds to this notion of more of the same. And ChatGPT for sure is not going to build theory, right? It's going to tell you which theory is most likely related to the concepts that are in the paper. And I think that is going to be a big issue.
Basically, tourism and hospitality studies move beyond basic service provision to tackle more complex, interconnected global challenges, absolutely ensuring contribute positively to society, economy, and our world. So our topics may be related to sustainability, digital transformation, and inclusion and diversity issue. So what really is Cassie is mentioned the last in the slide, is I was so encouraged to deal with the experimental design. When you look at the psychology of this discipline, when they develop the theory, usually they tend to use experimental design issue. But that's going to be, I think, very encouraging is to develop our field. Another issue I'm teaching, I haven't taught is many years qualitative research. It's adopting phenomenology, critical theory based on the post-positivism, something like that. But it's very hard for students to submit article to the journal. There may be a fashion or a trend is in tourism sectors because the tourism studies is just based on the positivism issue. So if we focus on more qualitative research, Professor Wang, Professor Song,
I'm a quantitative researcher.
Yeah, quantitative researcher.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? When you receive those kinds of qualitative research articles?
Yeah, actually, some of the discussions will be also in my presentation tomorrow. So if I say too much, I will probably nothing to present tomorrow, which is specifically related to the influence of tourism research on other areas of studies. If tourism is a credible area of research, then we should generate knowledge, theory, and methodology which can be used in other disciplines as well. But in terms of tourism publication nowadays, I think we emphasize perhaps too much on theoretical contribution because when I submit papers to journals, first thing I got is whether you have developed a theory or have any theoretical contribution without mentioning methodology, right? So, but in economics, if you think about it, we actually have a specific research direction, which is econometrics, basically statistics and application in academic research. So methodological contribution, in my view, is equally important in research because methodological contribution method can allow us to test, verify, or refute, or develop new theories. Actually, tomorrow I will present in economic research many of the Nobel Prize winners. Their contribution is purely on methodology. And why the Nobel Prize was given to them? Because their method allows others to develop new theories and test new theories, verify new theories. So I think, in my view, we are overly emphasized on theory. I remember at the time when we started tourism research, one paper, if you have one theory or even no theory in tourism management and or tourism research, your paper will get published. But nowadays you have to have 3 or 4 theories. You actually taking the components of different theories and put them together and claiming this is a new theory that I developed, which is no, right? No, because each components are from other theories. You only take some of them, put them together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You like assemble cars from different brand of cars, right? You take engine from Mercedes, you take gearbox from BMW and put them together. and you claim this is a new car I developed, but it's not, right? So I think although many of our published studies claiming they have a theoretical contribution, in fact they do not. They basically assemble the existing theories and put them together and claim they have made a theoretical contribution. I think that's just my 2 cents. Probably I'm too old-fashioned. The direction would be different. So that's what I thought.
I don't think it's necessarily about quantitative or qualitative or a specific method, but Julmo asked us to actually write perspective papers, so I'm not sure if they will be made accessible somehow, but I was asking myself what is going to happen to our research when AI enters the picture. And I think the bigger question is, are we going to be sitting here in 2 years? Are we doing research that AI can easily do? Or are we doing research that requires deep human understanding, right? No matter what that kind of research is. And so for me, the global research agenda has to focus on that, because number crunching kinds of studies and even experimental designs, there's now, even on Instagram, or you can already A/B test everything, right? So AI will take on a lot of these functions. So I think that research agenda needs to think about us as human researchers and perspectives we can have and insights we can have that AI will not be able to replace.
Okay, so I think for me, yes, I agree with Professor Song. Sometimes, or not sometimes, methodologies is also really important, especially after AI. So when we talk to our colleagues, many colleagues will have concern on AI, but I think that is something unavoidable. So we should not avoid that. So that's why MUST actually is, I think, one of the first university we provide the ChatGPT to all the students and develop the guidelines. But in terms of research, I think we also need to consider how to make use of AI to help us to foster our methodology. For example, I think we can have discussions, or should have discussions. For example, when we're doing some like qualitative research, like interview text, is it possible to use AI to help something, do some sorting or coding? I'm not sure. Maybe nowadays when we measuring the behavior intention, we have some camera, right? There are many cameras. Is it possible to use the cameras to measure our satisfaction, our emotions, so it will become our actual behavior instead of behavior intention? So I think those things are really interesting and rely on based on the technology, and that is what we should do, I think, in the methodology. Thank you.
Actually, probably I'll just respond to Uli's concern, whether in 2 years' time we'll still be sitting here. I'm not worried. I will be retired in 2 years' time. So, but seriously, I think AI, to me, AI is a tool. And 10 minutes left. So AI is a tool, and AI actually cannot generate new research. It has to be done by human, right? So what AI can do is synthesize, summarize what has already been done, and maybe point out some directions. But then the actual research will have to be done by us. So I think all of you sit here, be assured you will be, still researching tourism phenomenon in the future, perhaps using a lot of AIs, but AI will not replacing you. because AI is just a tool. Actually, we are doing some studies using AI, especially large language models, in looking at the destination competitiveness and also the sentiment, local tourist sentiments towards tourism, and also forecasting is another example. Actually, we incorporate big data analytics in our forecasting models. So we can use more and more AI in our research, but we need to answer the fundamental research question by us. I'm a little bit optimistic than Uli, perhaps.
I used AI to analyze the coding system using a ground theory initiated by Strauss-Kovin. It's open coding, actual coding. Very, very difficult for us to do actually by manual. But when I used the AI, it was so active, very systematic. It's acceptable. Yeah. So, Professor Pevici, you. You're using AI. Can I ask you something? You're a journal editor, right? So when you receive some article, it's written by a qualitative researcher, what is your response in general?
For us, it doesn't matter if it is qualitative research or quantitative research. We look at the research question and the purpose of the study, and based on that, if it makes a contribution and if it has the right methodology, it's fine. But there is a misconception about qualitative research. They think if they interview 10 people, 15 people, they can publish an article in top-tier journals. And more journals now, we require mixed method or multi-method and phase 1, phase 2, or different variations. And it's all about the contribution. Again, hospitality and tourism has been a testing ground for many theories developed in other fields, and we are looking at whether there is an incremental contribution or is a radical contribution. But 99% of submissions to my journals, they all claim they're making a huge contribution, but only, I think, 1%, let's say, overall, really make a strong contribution, mostly little incremental contributions. So we are very selective with our journals. Both International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management has an acceptance rate of 10%, and our new journal, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Insights, only 8 years. It also has 10% acceptance. So it's all about how you frame it, regardless of methodology, how you have your research questions, your theoretical foundation, and then at the end your findings, but how you present your implications, just the contribution. I wish we all could develop our own theories, like Favzi theory or Bohali's theory or Song's theory, but I think very few of us has our own theories. I mean, I don't know if anyone has his own theory or her own theory here in this group. I don't think so, maybe one or two. We are testing theories developed by others and adding one or two things relatively minor, okay? That's my 2 cents, I would say.
Okay. Because we don't have enough
I'm not
time.
a panelist, so I didn't want to talk.
I'm going to ask Professor Park Sang-won, you are managing editor of tourism management, right? When I look at the slide, it's desk reject so high. What are criteria to evaluate the paper?
Yeah, since Kathy taking over the leadership of tourism management, I'm joined as a managing editor, I think about 6 or 7 years now. Since then, I'm becoming world enemy. So my responsibility is to reject the papers as opposed to accept the papers. So I got a lot of such emails, response back to it. Okay, so then why is the TM has a lot of rejections? Because we have a very clear criteria. So in a task rejection stage, where first of all, we're checking originality of the idea. As the panel members have mentioned that we clearly can see whether they use only 10 model or TPB model. So if they use it, immediately we can make a decision that there's no strong theoretical contribution to a terminology, which means lack of originality. This is one key thing. But there's no differences between methodology, either qualitative or quantitative, but it's mainly looking at the contents or knowledge contributions on it. But instead, can I have a chance to ask one question? Okay, we are talking about theoretical development, but I want to ask some question different angle. So I'm a managing editor, so as you can see, towards management we have 3,000 submissions per year, getting larger and larger. When I have a lunch with Professor Dimitrios, who is the editor in Tourism Review, they also get over 1,500 submissions per year. As also Professor Fev just mentioned, I'm pretty sure that more or less number of permission a lot. What I mean by that, when I have observations, number of universities who have tourism hospitality, not increasing. Look at the Cornell survey. They also be part of business school. Australia, a lot of university in tourism almost disappear or shrinking. In spite of that, number of submissions in tourism increasing significantly. One of the concerns is that our researcher in tourism, their capability is free. Otherwise, we are good at using somehow AI agent to facilitate writing the papers or some of the different regions. When all the journal submission is increased a lot, even though the institution in tourism is not increased significantly. I'm not quite sure what does it happen. Is it a good sign or is it not good sign? So I want to ask a question to the leading scholars in the panel.
Yeah, I can confirm it for JIT as well. We're going to have probably 1,500 submissions this year as well. And that's incredible for a specialized journal, right? Journal of Information Technology in travel and tourism. So I think actually our tourism journals are highly ranked and are getting a lot of citations compared to some of the mainstream marketing, management, economics journals. If you look at marketing science, for example, yes, it's highly ranked, but its impact factor is not that great. And so I see a lot of papers being submitted from outside of the field. Now for us, it's of course computer science, but also management and marketing, but also increasingly communications, media studies. And unfortunately, they see tourism and hospitality as a great application area, but they don't necessarily get the core of tourism and hospitality. So they often bring great ideas in, but they miss usually something about it, right? That is obvious to us who are in the field. So that is my concern. I think it's great that we are seen as outlets for publication by others, but they are not necessarily completely understanding the context.
Maybe just a very quick response. Actually, tomorrow I will be talking exactly the same question I have in my presentation. I think apart from other discipline, researchers in other disciplines submit to tourism journals because of the high impact factor, and I also perhaps the quality of our research has not improved. The productivity has been high, but I remember in my time when I was at Surrey, actually we only required to publish 1 4-star journal articles. Actually, I got my professorship with only 30 publications. But now the younger generations, if they want to promote professor, they have to publish 100 articles, right? I think the situation has changed. I have sympathy for the young academics. But tomorrow, actually, I will be exactly talking about whether the quality of research has improved or declined in comparison with the mainstream research. In our business faculty in our school, they only require 3 UT dollars papers to be able to promote from assistant professor to associate professor. But in many tourism hospitality schools, you have to have 30, 40 journal publications to be able to even promote from assistant professor to associate professor. I think the system also play a role to push people publish more. If you publish more, your capacity is constrained. So if you publish more, means the quality will suffer, right? But I will talk about this tomorrow.
Okay. So we have just 10 seconds to go. So I'm going to welcome one question from audience. Any questions? Professor Hyun-Soo Kim. Professor Hyun-Soo Kim, as a young scholar, can you share any ideas regarding to global research agenda issue?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Hyun-Soo Kim from the University of Macau. So actually, I fully agree what the panelists mentioned. So my one key question is how to make a balance between the theoretical development and the challenging the theory and the practical implication, mainly how to increase the practical implication. So when we think about our industry and our disciplines, pretty the applied science and our subject and industries keep evolving. But from a researcher and the reviewer perspective, it's sometimes difficult to identify and pinpoint the relevant theory because the topic is evolving and the theory cannot catch it. So that's why after identifying the theory and after going through a revision process, then I'm sometimes skepticism whether my finding really can contribute to real setting. So there are huge gaps identified. So I would like to ask how to improve and maximize the practical implication as a researcher to impact the real impact.
After session, privately, you get to talk about, we don't have enough time.
Okay.
This sign is, okay, continuous. You want to talk
Quick
about
answer,
that?
I think it's true. There's nothing more practical than a good theory, and I think that still holds. I think it is not necessarily a conflict.
Okay, thank you so much for your meaningful contribution to this session. Okay.